Thank you. I'm going off of this. I love this show. I'd never been to this show, and I'm blown away. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm nerding out and walking up and down the aisles and having a great time. So I'm going to actually probably speak faster because of that, so that I can go out and do all that stuff. I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death, but I've got some PowerPoint slides. And I wanted to start by, hello, there we go. VP of that's the politician photo. So usually I'm in shorts, so don't pay attention to that. The other thing is if all of a sudden you're going to bring a guy in from a corporate marketing perspective to talk to small business, a lot of small businesses, and in an industry that he's not in, like fishing. You know, I'm in the shipping and global shipping business. You know, I've got to adjust a few things. So the first thing I got to do is show that I've got some street cred. So, I'm sorry, and these are all the various things in marketing. Let me back up for a second. I'll show you the street cred in a second. All the various types of marketing that I've worked in the past or been involved with or led teams creatively working on or any of that. That is over a lifetime of a little bit of Madison Avenue, a little bit of Atlanta, a little bit of, and I'm going to change here because I'm not reading off of a computer. Those are the kind of things that I started in traditional media a long time ago before digital. If you're at this presentation, you can't afford that. I mean, people can't afford outdoor and radio if you're a small business, if you are a captain or a guide, if you have a small tackle operation or a retail operation. How many manufacturers and do we have in the audience, if I can ask? Okay. How many smaller business retail shops? Yeah. I just want to know who the audience is here. We have captains. We have any fishing guides or captains around? Okay. And because I wasn't quite sure when I was writing the presentation, I was trying to think of it from every perspective. But in general, this is written to the small business environment. But I did, back to the street cred, I wanted to talk about the street cred. I can't talk to you guys unless I show you. I'm actually a fisherman too, I do stuff. So I don't get out on the water nearly as much as I want to. I'm over in the Tampa Bay area. But I know probably almost all the good fishing guides over there because we run a very, very popular tournament. In fact, we have been told by the captains that our tournament is probably one of the 3 best in the Tampa Bay area. And there's probably some 30 major tournaments that they have a year. And it's because we started off doing things right. But I wanted to just show there's a little bit of street cred there. The name of the tournament is the Baselam Fishing Tournament, so that's my plug. And I want to recognize a couple people in the back that are standing at one of the tables. That's part of my staff or part of our staff that works on the fishing tournament, and they have made this thing a huge success. So that's Chris and Katie, and they're standing in the back. But Mary Beth asked me to come in here and talk about, this is some slides from the tournament. If you don't have a lot of money to spend, and a lot of people in a small business do not have $100,000 to spend on some very simple marketing and getting your name out there, well, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So let's get to work. The first thing is to understand the opportunity, and I'm going to look over at the slides a lot because I thought I was going to be doing this off of the computer. But so I'm not kidding. At no other time in the history of marketing has small business had the opportunity to get so much cheap stuff. You should be out there working it because you can afford it. And that used to not be the case. When it used to be just outdoor, it used to be radio, or it used to be television, or it used to be printing things and passing them out. I think you can still do that pretty cheaply. In fact, you can do it more cheaply today than you could ever, and off of your own computer if you want to. There are more ways to communicate to customers than ever before, and at the same time, you don't want to inundate yourself by trying to do it all. So we're going to talk about that today. I keep forgetting that I'm not tethered to that microphone, and I can walk over here. I was trying to find. Okay. But try to pick, when we talk about some of these options, try to pick one or two or three things, but not try to do it all. You can't do it all, but the digital world gives everyone access to the game. Who was here for Sid's presentation right before this? Okay, Sid, I literally went in and I eliminated 5 slides off of my presentation because he was covering it, and he did such a great job of it with generative AI, speaking specifically to AI. But we're going to talk about the digital world in general, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit the same way that he did about your message and your target audiences, and being thoughtful when you start to do things as opposed to post and do things that you can do on your own, and how you can generate your own activity. There we go. Fuck. The first thing we need to, there's only 2 things behind the message. Who you are and what you do. Those are the 2 things you need to concentrate on. And you need to say it simply, and you need to say it without trying to get too complicated. And you need to say it and differentiate yourself from the people that you are working or competing against. A couple of those people, a couple of those kinds of examples are, when I think about, for example, a captain that's trying to generate his small business, his charter business, you can go out and say, I'm Dave Smith, and and we do charters, and they are half-day charters, and here's how much they are. Really? You really can't say it any more interestingly than that. You talk about Dave, I am Captain Dave Smith with this many years of experience, and I will guarantee that you will have the greatest time out on the water that you've ever had. You need to work your message a little bit. You need to talk about what you do, not in terms of, hey, I provide charters, or hey, we are a bait and tackle operation, or we've got a retail store that does this, everything from apparel to gear to all this kind of stuff. But talk about the end result and look at it from the customer's experience standpoint out on the water. We have the best performance gear that you can possibly get, and we've got more selection and we've got more options, and we can do it more affordably than anyone else. That's the way you craft these messages, but you need to do it with relevance, and you need to do it with something interesting, informational. So when we were listening to Sid just a little while ago, Sid is an actual fishing guy. He's he understands fishing. I understand it just from hey, I go out and get a charter once a month. But he was talking about, what if you are out there talking about how the fish are running this month or this week or this day, or you're showing little video clips, those kind of things, and making things relevant to your customers. What if you are a retail operation and you are showing not just this new rod-reel combination package, but you're out there actually showing somebody hooked up with a big fish with that and talking about it. Video is very, very important in everything you do. At no other time have ideas been so cheap. There's a treasure trove of the ideas and ways to communicate with your customers, and they don't cost an arm and a leg, and the digital world has provided us with that. If you're a retailer or a manufacturer, it's smart to look at the competition around what they're doing, but you don't need to be in very, very expensive traditional media. We're talking about doing things on the cheap. One of the first things I recommend to everybody that is talking to a customer and interacting with a customer is to develop a database. Businesses in here, you all have databases of your customers or not? Who has a database of their customers? I'm not going to embarrass anybody by saying who does not, but I would say the first thing you want to do is start to put together a database, because the database with an email address, with a name, with a phone number, whatever it happens to be, is sort of a lifeline to getting out and putting messages out to everybody. So the first thing I would work on, the very first thing I would work on, is getting your database in order. The second thing is you've got to put out some sort of a message to opt in or opt out. You really are you're going to piss more people off if you're just sending messages too much, if you don't opt in. So I would put in, hey, I would put in a system, whether it's text, whether it's an email campaign, whether it's an e-newsletter that you're starting to create, or any of that kind of stuff, and ask people for the option of opting in or not, okay? But then from there, you can do all kinds of things. On the database, as I mentioned, text, e-newsletter. E-newsletter is actually kind of a cool little thing if you send it maybe once a month. It takes a little while to write it. You've got to put some time in it. I mean, when I say that, you can maybe take an hour. It can be very, very easy. There are templates that you can buy online that you can then populate with some stories. Hey, here's what's happening over in St. Petersburg. Oh, we heard from Captain so-and-so down in, if you're a retailer, we heard 3 or 4 captains tell us that fish are running, this way or that way, or you've got snook here, or you've got this biting over here, or whatever. But you develop those on an e-newsletter and send it out and talk about some of the fun on the water that we had last month. You can do blogs. Blogs are also that conversational piece. You heard Sid talking about it in the previous presentation. And then there's emails. And again, the key to that is opt in, opt out, giving them an opportunity to opt out. Websites. You can get. Does anybody know how to build a website? Okay, so you got a couple of people that'll build their own websites. Other than that, I've seen websites created for $500, $200 if it's a student. I used to live in Savannah, and they had the Savannah College of Art and Design, and every single one of those kids could build a website. That's how I started with my small consulting business. But they can go to $5,000, and if you're at Port Tampa Bay, you can spend more than $50,000 on your website, because we have all sorts of accessibility issues and things like that we've got to stay in tune with. But websites or microsites. But one of the things I enjoy, or what I recommend to very small businesses more than that, are to build your own profile on Facebook in a business format, non-personal. You want a business Facebook page. You want business accounts on these various accounts if you can stay in touch with them, stay up to date with them. If you don't stay up to date with TikTok, or you don't like TikTok, or you don't use it, then don't use it. But you've got to be able to pick 2 or 3 of these platforms because this is where your ability to market your business at a 50,000-foot view. I can sit there and spend $100,000 like that. I can spend $1 million like that, and we'll get results. But if you want to do this cheaply, you've got to spend an hour to 2 hours a week, I would recommend, even if you're a captain, just in a small business working on your charters. If you're a larger business, then you'll spend more time on it. But you need to provide enough time in your daily schedules If you're a manufacturer or one of the larger retailers around here, you probably have a marketing department, but you spend time working on content, working on video content, working on industry knowledge content, all those kinds of things, and you develop it and put it and start telling stories. If any of you are in marketing or were in marketing or have heard marketing people talk, you hear this buzzword called storytelling, which always cracked me up. I've been in this business for 40 years, and to me, Steven Spielberg is a storyteller. I'm not a storyteller, but we are storytellers. We are telling stories in marketing, and that's what gets engagement. That's what gets your customers to look and say, ah, here's an authoritative figure. You come off authoritatively. You can entertain them with some great video. I'll tell you what, I'm a sucker every time a video comes across my feed and it's somebody that's hooked up with a tarpon or something like that. I'm like, oh, I stop and I watch, but it gets looked at. These things get looked at, and then you start to become, over time, an authority if people are coming to your page and seeing this a lot. So you post stories, pics, products, or anything relevant. You can even do some fun family type stuff if you're showing kids fishing, things of that nature. People pay attention to all this kind of, you have a dog on a boat, and you're showing, some of the stuff that you do, but think about your content. Always think about, this is entertaining to me, is it entertaining to my customer? It has to be entertaining to your customer, or you're not gonna start picking up traffic. If you'll start picking up traffic if you're posting really, really good, fun stuff. And it's usually around entertainment, around kids, around hooking up fishing, and you're pulling that fish in, that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff that makes people just keep looking. I have a couple of captains I follow down in the Keys, and I follow them because I love looking at their videos. I might get down to the Keys once a year, I might get down to the Keys once every 2 years, but I tell you what, I'm gonna call one of these two that I've been looking at and schedule a charter with them, I'm look at also a couple of retail organizations that are up in the Jacksonville area, which is where I'm from, and I'm like, oh, when I'm in town fishing with my buddy Joe, I'm gonna make sure I see, go by there, or I wanna run by there real quick because I'm gonna have to pick up some gear. So track your engagements organically. You'll start to see what your audience is reacting to. You can literally, I'm telling you, before the digital world, oh my God, most of us in the advertising business, we didn't know what 50% of all advertising worked, we just didn't know which 50. But now you can go in and you can track and you can see the likes and you can look at what people are responding to, what they're reposting, and then that starts to tell you how to curate, is a good word, curate your content, okay? Ever since we put one of these things, one of these phones in our pockets, we literally are all creators. We're all creative people. We can all do creative stuff with this. It just takes time to sit down and look at what you're providing and putting out there. So these are the tactics for micro marketing strategies. Start with the stuff that's free for a small business. Get your profile up there, get it looking good. Always take care of it, always see it, look at it once a day, once every 2 days, update it once a week, whatever you happen to be doing. Stay current, stay consistent. Online advertising. You can engage for relatively few dollars, getting involved with some banner ads, some Google ads, some Facebook ads. You have to put the parameters on it. You have to say, here's my geographic area, here's the kind of people I want to reach, here are the demos, those kind of things. Some of you know what I'm talking about already if you're marketing people, or if you're some of the larger marketing departments in some of the bigger small businesses. But if you are generally a mom and pop shop and you're on your own, you've got to go in and spend an hour or two looking at this kind of stuff. And what your opportunities are, and curating your content, and then look and see on online advertising. You can get some of this, and it works really well. You can get some of this for just a few pennies, or you can put limits also on how much the ad's being shown. Blogs and video logs. I love these. I love blogs. I love podcasts. I love vlogs, but only if you've got time to keep up with it. If you go in and start a blog, you do a nice article, you do another article, and you start to fall off, then you've just wasted a lot of content. A lot of people are coming in starting to read it. You've got to build your audience, build. But if you aren't going to take care of it, you're going to see this start to wane, and then it's going to be almost impossible to get it back. But blogs are a way to go out and talk about how the conditions on the water were that day, or we did this, or oh my gosh, I had a group on a charter with me from here, or we've got these specials going on rods and reels, whatever it happens to be. You can go in and talk about these things and make them more relevant for the customer. Not so digital. I would venture to guess that most of the people that are here are people that get out and get around to network and get into events. If you are a small business and you can be in your Chamber of Commerce, I would be in your Chamber of Commerce. I would be in your associations. I would look for opportunities to stand and present yourself or show yourself to groups in your area. It's a little old-fashioned, but tell you what, you can't be a hermit in this business if you're trying to run a business. So get out there and participate in events and some of the different tournaments. There's a how many people are in areas where there are a lot of tournaments? I mean, I would imagine you go, if it's anything like Tampa, there's a tournament every week. So you just look and you pick and choose and look for the big ones, and get out there and shake hands and meet some people, meet some retailers, meet some captains, and look for the opportunity to get involved with those kinds of things. I had to knock 5 or 6 slides off because Sid covered my slides, so I don't know what I've got left. Influencers. In Tampa, we've got a couple of guys that are on radio stations that do fishing reports. That's who I call the influencers. I realize we have influencers walking around. In fact, I know we have influencers walking around because they're all on sticks with little lit rings and with their phones up there, and they're walking around like that. They're all over the show right now, and I know that they're influencers. And if you have the opportunity to create a relationship with an influencer, it helps quite a bit. It really does. And the guy, again, I'll refer to Sid, who was up here just before I was, would be a great influencer. I happen to know that he's not. I was talking to him, and I happen to know he doesn't really shill with anybody. He doesn't take on, and I don't know if anybody's picked him up as a sponsor or not, or if he's got sponsors or anybody that he name drops product with, but he could, because he's an Adobe guy, he's a marketing guy, and he's a fisherman. And so, and he seems to know, he's got a lot of knowledge on that, but I would look for the influencers in your local markets and establish relationships with them. Call them up, have coffee, ask them how they can co-market with you, or how you can co-market with them. And so I think I'm getting towards the end. What I wanted to do was just show a quick little video about our tournament in Port Tampa Bay. Before we actually run the video, I just wanted to say this. Port Tampa Bay has 3 major charities throughout the year. We have a golf tournament, we have a ball, an anchor, what we call the anchor ball, which is a gala, black tie, and then my department, and I mentioned Chris and Katie in the back of the room, we run the fishing tournament for Port Tampa Bay, and we are in our 7th year or 8th? 8th? We're in our 8th year. We were told, don't start a tournament. Do you know how much work that is? Do you know how much time you're going to take away from? We did really well on our tournament because we did 3 things right. And this is again, thinking about your audience, thinking about what their needs are. We knew there were 30 tournaments in the Bay. You know, how much more money can you get out of fishermen, right? Or businesses that fish, that want to fish. When we ran our tournament, we decided to do 3 things right. First and foremost, we looked at the captains and we said, we're not going to try to get these guys down on a discount. We're going to pay them their full rate. How many times are there a tournament and you end up hearing, well, can you do this for $600 or on a day rate, or can you do this for $500 on a day rate when their day rates might be $600 or $700? So these guys get asked and pinged constantly throughout the year to donate their services. We said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to pay them their rate. That's the first leg of the stool, of the 3-legged stool. The second was we made sure that everybody that participated in our tournament walked away with a kick-ass grab bag. One of the reasons why we're at the show, and one of the things Chris and Katie are doing in the back right now, is they're combing the aisles here looking for new ideas, because we're going to put some really cool stuff in that bag. People are going to talk about that bag. They ain't going to talk about other tournament bags. They're going to talk about Port Tampa Bay's bag. And they do. And then the third thing is that the sponsors that are doing the tournament, that are signing up and they're sponsoring us, and we give them all kinds of exposure above and beyond. We're just not going to give out a flyer or say their name at the awards dinner or do anything like that. We're going to promote them on social media throughout the year using the audience of Port Tampa Bay. We have some 9,000 followers here and on that platform, and 15 on this platform, and 10 on that platform. And we promote them, and they see their faces, and they have people that actually are calling them saying, oh, we saw Port Tampa Bay's post on you. So we do really well with that kind of thing by doing those 3 things: taking care of the captains, taking care of the customers that are in the guests that are fishing, and then and the businesses that are doing that. Our boats are $3,000. It was a little hefty when we first came out with it 7 years ago, but people want to do business with Port Tampa Bay, they've signed up. It started with that, and then the reputation got out there that we were running one of the best tournaments of the year. So that's what we do, and that's that's what I'll show you and close out with this little video. The only expenditure at the beginning of this whole thing for us was creating the logo. So we had a good time with that, and I can open it up for questions. Anybody want to ask anything?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you guys have a kayak fishing division for the tournament?
Sorry.
I'm from Tampa Bay. Do you guys have a kayak fishing division for the tournament?
Kayak? We don't have a kayak fishing division. Chris? No, I know we don't, but I'm just like, somebody wants to go out on a kayak and be part of the tournament. That's kind of neat.
Okay, I would love to talk to you guys. We run a kayak fishing nonprofit in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Yeah. I actually love that.
And our niche is really getting more women into kayak fishing, and I'm Rico, so
wow,
Spanish,
that's
Hispanic
very
community.
niche-y. Oh, so, Spanish too.
Yeah.
That's pretty niche-y. So that's cool.
I'll connect with you guys.
Please do. I mean, here's the thing. It's power boat, it's bay boats, it's we provide the boats and the captains, but we have a contingent if somebody wants to bring their own boat. Like we had We had the Budweiser labeled fishing boat. The distributor wanted to participate one year. They wanted to bring their own boat. We said sure, and then we adjusted sort of the fee for the entry based on that. And they were going to provide their own captain with that particular boat. Sure, we went ahead and took the captain fee off, but we still took the donation and made them part of the tournament. So, yeah.
You mentioned that in your area there's a lot of tournament. What was special or different in your tournament to allow new people to participate or be involved in your event?
What was different?
Yeah, or something.
So,
you mentioned 3 things that you guys did.
So we themed. So listen, here's the other thing. What I did. That's a good question, because how were we going to distinguish the tournament from all the other tournaments going on around the Bay? One of the things we were sold on is the notion that in the process of storytelling of Port Tampa Bay, we are you know, a lot of cities around on the coast in the United States grew up around their ports. Their ports were the economic engine. They were the trade coming in and out. I mean, back to the 1800s, all that. We've got that history too. However, we always operated out of the downtown area. If you look at the tournaments that are going on around the Tampa Bay area, they're being run out of marinas, up and down, all around, out at St. Pete, in Tampa, down on the peninsula. There's a couple of marinas down short of there. It's mostly out towards the islands, and we were doing an inshore fishing tournament. It was a 5-species bay slam, but we were running it out of downtown. And the reason we ran it out of downtown at the convention center is that we've got a couple of old salts that got their hands on us, and they said, you know, the Port of Tampa used to run a tournament, a fishing tournament, back in the 60s or back in the 70s or whatever, and they ran it out of downtown when there weren't all these marinas everywhere else. And they said, you know, what if you got back to sort of the old-timey, you know, how we used to fish downtown back in the day? We got kind of romanced by that and thought, well, you know, we're a port. It's a no-brainer if we're going to do another charitable event to make it a fishing tournament. How can we do that? And how can we do that and distinguish ourselves? We'll make it a total downtown tournament. And all of a sudden, we activated the businesses around the downtown area who looked at us and said, heck yeah, we'll do that. We've got clients in town, or we got clients we'll take. So we put a theme together. We are truly one of the only downtown tournaments running in downtown Tampa, and not running out of some marina that's way, way out and way away from our own business. Here's another little trick. Because we're a port, we have restricted waters, which we open up on fishing day. What captains do you know that don't want to go fish a honey hole that they've never been able to get into, right? So we've got a couple of those kind of things where we've gone into a honey hole. I've got a picture that I keep on my phone of a kid, a younger kid, who was about 15 or something like that, went in and caught some slob 43 snook, and that was kind of like, that was the winning fish of the year. And because he got to go into the restricted waters. Now the next thing is we're going to go try to see if MacDill Air Force Base will let us in their restricted waters, because there's some honey holes in there too. But we haven't gotten them to give us permission to do that yet. So
let's say, for example, that I am a small business.
Yes.
And I have a very limited budget per month, for marketing my products.
Right.
I have already exhausted the free options, such as social media platforms. I don't really have the high money to hire influencers to advertise my stuff. Say that I have a small budget, what would be your recommendation for me to invest, like prioritize, when it comes to, you know, putting my stuff out there?
Well, I think, so what the beauty is of digital media is that it allows you to do things for free. I mean, so have you maximized everything that you've done?
Yeah, so say for example.
So you're on every platform, you post 2 or 3 times a week, every platform, that kind of thing, and you're putting that content out there. have you been tracking your relevancy? Have you been tracking how much people respond or interact?
And a little bit more specific on this, right?
Yeah.
Would it be wise for me on this small budget
Yeah.
to actually spend my money, for example, on Facebook ads? Do you
Yeah.
think it is really effective nowadays?
I do. I've seen them work. I've seen Facebook ads work. I've seen Google ads work. What the key to that is getting in and drilling down and putting the parameters around. Otherwise, if you're wasting your clicks, if you're doing pay-per-click, if you're doing or if you're doing banner ads, or you're doing any of that kind of stuff, Google ads, you have to really screw down the geographic area, screw down the demographic area. What kind of people are the people that are going to, you know who comes in and buys and who buys from you. So use that demographic and apply that to the ads, and I'll tell you what, don't dive in both feet. Go ahead and copy test. Do a couple of different ads, a couple of different posts, and copy test A/B. Do what they call A/B. Do this kind of ad to these people, this kind of ad to those people, and that can be done. So with Google and with Facebook, and just try it. Just see what comes back. That's what you're.
One more question? Any more questions? No?
Did I get us back on time?
Yeah? No.
Well, it helped
are on
that
time.
Sid had 6 slides that I just took out of my presentation because he was so good with what he showed. So the generative AI stuff that he was talking about is outstanding. So we're in the middle of changing our strategies or applying the generative AI. We have a social media company, because we can afford it, Port Tampa Bay, that is helping us look at some of those options. And so I can't wait. But yeah, somebody was asking about Hootsuite in the previous session. If you get an amalgamator like that, or HubSpot or somebody like that, you can schedule your posts. You can sit down on a Sunday, write out your posts for the next 2 or 3 weeks, schedule them, and not have to worry about anything for 2 weeks. Go on vacation, or probably not if you have a small business.
That's right. I also want to add, because he kept talking about Sid's presentation, I know that not everybody was able to make the 10 o'clock session. All of these sessions are recorded, and they're going to be on our new education hub. So if you are an ASA member, we'll have access to that.
So they can hear all the stuttering I did at the beginning of the presentation when I realized all of a sudden I didn't have my laptop open or any of my notes to read. So.
It's okay. We'll cut that part out.
Great.
Thank you so much, Karl. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to having you back next year.